He had wealth, power, and every woman wanted him. But the one person who stole his heart was the maid he tried to destroy. Women was a cold truth. Richard trusted no one. He believed every woman was fake, every heart unworthy. So he built an armor around his own, and to protect himself, he became cruel. One night, Richard returned home after a long day. As he entered, a warm smell filled his mansion, a smell that reminded him of home, of his mother. Curious, he followed it to the kitchen. There he found Bianca the maid, cooking and softly singing to herself. For a moment, Richard just stood in the doorway, watching her. Something about her was different, so simple, yet so beautiful. But instead of admitting it, he covered it with arrogance. Who asked you to use my kitchen? I have chefs for that. What cheap soup is this? Bianca looked up, calm and steady. Forgive me, sir. I only thought you'd be hungry. Sometimes food cooked with love tastes better than meals cooked for money. Her words lingered in his heart, though he would never admit it. Richard had been disappointed too many times. Women chased his money, his power, his name, never him. So he built a fortress around his heart, hard, cold, and unbreakable. But Bianca unsettled him. She didn't flatter him. She didn't chase him. She walked quietly, as though his wealth meant nothing, and that made her dangerous. The next morning, Richard bragged to his friend about a party he was hosting. You'll see the most beautiful women in town at my house tonight. But when he turned, he saw her again, Bianca, quietly making his bed, as if it wasn't even there. It infuriated him. Wash these sheets, and you, take a bath too. Bianca froze, confused. She muttered something under her breath, and in seconds, Richard had her pinned against the wall, their faces inches apart, his eyes burning into hers. But Bianca did not tremble. She lifted her chin and said firmly, You can humiliate me if it pleases you, sir, but you cannot break me. I was not hired to impress you. I was hired to work. Her words cut deeper than he expected. He released her, hiding the storm inside his chest. For the first time, he was the one who felt out of control. That night, his mansion came alive. Music, laughter, flashing lights. Women swarmed him, begging for his attention. But even surrounded by beauty, Richard felt empty, because every laugh, every whisper, reminded him of Bianca, the way she stood her ground, the way her eyes never flinched. He stepped out to the balcony, alone, drowning in confusion. Why her? She's just a maid. Then why can't I stop thinking about her? The party raged on, but Richard's heart was no longer his own. The party was over. Empty glasses, perfume, and broken laughter lingered in the air. Richard, drunk and restless, wandered through his mansion, searching for something he couldn't name. And then he found her. In the kitchen long after midnight, Bianca was cleaning quietly, humming the same soft tune she always did. She didn't look at him, she didn't speak, she just continued her work, calm as ever. For some reason, it angered him. Why wasn't she like the others? Why didn't she beg for his attention? Richard staggered forward, his voice sharp. Do you think you're better than them? Do you think I don't see how you look at me? Bianca finally turned, her eyes steady, her voice calm. No, no, sir. I don't think I'm better, and I don't look at you the way they do, because I don't want anything from you. Her words hit him harder than any insult. No one had ever said that to Richard before. He stared at her, swaying slightly, trying to read her face. For the first time in his life, he didn't know what to say, so he left, angry, unsettled, and more haunted than before, because deep down, Richard knew the woman who wanted nothing from him was the one who had unknowingly stolen everything. Past, Richard tried to forget Bianca, but it was impossible. He caught himself watching her, when she wasn't looking, the way her hair slipped loose as she cleaned, the way she laughed softly with the other staff, the way she carried herself with quiet dignity. She wasn't the most glamorous woman in his house, but she was Rhea, and that was what made her unforgettable. One evening, Richard found himself alone in the kitchen again. On the stove sat a small pot. Bianca's cooking. He hesitated, then lifted the lid. The aroma hit him instantly. Warm, familiar, like the comfort he had long forgotten. It reminded him of his mother, of love, of home. He took a spoonful, and in the simple taste, Richard felt something break inside. For the first time in years, his heart softened. But when Bianca entered and found him eating, Richard quickly masked his feelings. "Don't flatter yourself. It's just food," he muttered coldly. Yet deep inside, he knew the truth. It wasn't just food. It was the beginning of something he could no longer deny. Richard began to change, subtly but surely. The women he once paraded felt empty to him. Their laughter, their beauty, their charms meant nothing. Instead, his thoughts kept circling back to the maid who never chased him, the maid who looked him in the eye without fear, the maid who treated him not as a king, but simply as a man. And though Richard fought it with all his pride, his armor was melting, piece by piece.